Hey everybody, welcome back to Big Fat Dubs here, Kelly and Ryan, and we finally got around to doing this, a movie review. Yes, we've been talking about it for quite a bit, and finally we have one for you. This one's actually going to be on Ryan because he actually just went and saw it here earlier today. Scream 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Ryan some questions because I actually don't know much about the whole series myself. And he's also going to fill us in on some other stuff about the movie too. So, Ryan, I guess just to start off, first of all, what is the Scream franchise?
So, Scream franchise is your typical slasher movie. It's in regards of it's actually quite funny because they make fun of itself in the movies. In all the movies they talk about slasher movies and the roles that each person plays. How there's the virgin, the jock, and all that stuff. There's always they always make fun of themselves in slasher movies, um, while being the characters that are going to be involved. So it started back in the '90s, with a person called Ghostface. So you see the costume a lot and everything like that. It's wearing a big black robe with a ghost face mask, and he preys victim to mostly high schoolers and teenagers. Um, his famous quoted line is, "What's your favorite scary movie?" As he is calling mostly women and breaks in their house, kills them, and everything like that. He was going after a person by the name of Sidney Prescott, who all of them kind of played in a role of the killer being having to do with the whoever the victim was. So for four movies, it was about Sidney Prescott, and then fifth and sixth movie, the last two, this one that came out this year, and the one that came out last year, it started to transition into new characters with still ties to Sidney Prescott and the original. Um, uh, there have been many killers and like that. Mostly every Scream movie, there's been two people that are the ghost face, and then I think the third one was the only one with one killer. And to not really like go into full detail and everything like that, because again, it's just your typical horror movie. A lot of killing, lots and lots of killing. And so this series now they moved on from the Sidney Prescott era to now um, Sam Loomis, who is the daughter of the very first Ghostface in the first movie. So she's now paying for the sins of of her father. While there's a lot of hints of her becoming him and murdering people as well. Um, it's it's actually a good slasher movie. There's a lot of jump scare. It's very typical, but I think it's more so it's not a very funny movie, but it's funny how they make fun of horror movies in himself. It's actually very quite comical.
Really?
Yep. They make a lot of reference to, oh well, now here's this, and they reference. So the funny part is that in the movies themselves, there's a movie called Stab. So these movies are called Scream. This movie's called Stab, and it's exactly the same thing. It's your ghost face. They're going around killing people. All this stuff. These talk about the roles of everybody. They talk about, oh, this happened in the sequel and all that stuff. So they did that with this one. So Scream 5, which was the turnaround for the Scream franchise, in the new direction, they've referenced a lot to the original movie and how, again, there's this person, there's this person, there's this person. This one talked about more about Scream 2 and how, oh, there's two killers, oh, there's this, oh, there's that. It's quite funny in a sense because the killers end up being the relation of the killer from Scream 5, which in
Okay.
Scream 2 it was the mother and the I think a brother of Billy Loomis, who was the first killer, and also Matthew Lillard's character. I can't remember his name, but Matthew Lillard was also one of it too, the killer. So
Nice.
it pretty much it's remaking the Scream franchise with these new characters while still paying homage to um the others. So
So, real quick.
yeah,
So you're saying this is all? ghost faces are pretty much all related. So is this like a genetic thing that's they have some mental condition that they become this later on in life? Is
They
that
never talk about that. They never talk about there's any mental issues or anything like that. Um, a lot of it has, so it's really weird. So they talk, so it kind of brings up the fact of like, Sidney Prescott's mom was a whore who slept around with this person, and it's very much like real world problems and like issues
okay?
and stuff like that. And it's just more so just out for revenge, and it's
So
more like the
okay,
people who are Ghostface are very blood, they're bloodlusting. They're hungry for that murder, and they're mostly directing after one person, but they're going to go around and kill all these other people that have ties to who the main character is. So Sidney Prescott or Sam Loomis.
so they find out they kind of relate Ghostface in a way, and then they become him.
Pretty much.
So they find out, oh yeah, he does this because he believes all this or thinks this
So
way, and then that's
yeah.
what they want to be.
So for this movie, so it becomes more of a cult following. So Billy Loomis really started this, and I'm really forgetting on fucking Matthew Lillard's character, so I'm not going to really mention him a lot. But it's Billy Loomis and him. They really started a cult with Ghostface, and it becomes more of like it shows how sickening the world can be when you start a cult like this, and people started following it because they're like, I watched Dad, but I also read these, the stories that were about these incidents and everything like that. One of the characters, Gail Weathers, who is a reporter, she has written a book of every time something Woodsboro murder massacre happens, which is where the movies all take place, except for this one. This one was in New York City. So it becomes a cult following, but they all end up being in relation to each other in a way where it's like, okay, well, here's Billy Loomis. Next one is Billy Loomis's mom and like his brother. I can't remember the third one. It has some ties, but it's I had to go back and see the movie.
Okay.
The fourth movie is Sidney Prescott's niece, who is living her life, and she becomes angry because she's the niece of Sidney Prescott, so there's all that publicity and fame that's unwanted and saying that she's cursed and everything like that. Then the fifth movie is actually Matthew Lillard's aunts or nieces or nephews, I believe, and they're going after Billy Loomis's daughter. And then this next one is again, they are the family, the dad and the brother and sister of um of Richie's, who was the previous killer. That's his family now. So now they're going after Sam because he killed Richie, and he has it's such a cult following, and it's always connected. This is one franchise that they've never broken off the connection. There's always a connection to all the other movies.
That's kind of cool in a way.
It is kind of cool. I mean, it's actually one of the only. So I'm not big on horror.
Neither am I.
In the sense that I call out the most stupidest shit in horror movies.
Yes.
And I can attest, and a lot of people can attest that I will call out every fucking thing and be like, well, you're an idiot. Well, you're an idiot and all that shit. And this is one movie I actually can enjoy. I still want to say something because I know it's fucking true. But it's one of those movies that I can actually enjoy watching because there's so much mystery involved. Because they don't you don't know who the Ghostface is, and there are some cases where like, okay, I can kind of see this right away, but then you look at it and you're like, okay, I'm watching this, and and so they all have different alibis or aliases, excuse me.
Alias.
Yeah, so you don't know until they actually unmask themselves in their Ghostface that there's actually connection. So you learn a lot more as you go along. So it becomes more of that, history involved.
So do you think they actually, the way that they're doing these movies is to set up something? Obviously, it's going to set up something for the next movie. I think there's actually going to be an ending eventually, or do you think it's going to keep going?
It's so hard because
you're talking about a bloodline that's apparently that keeps going through all these movies.
Well, not just a bloodline, but just a connection. There's a connection in all of them because it's never one family that is the same. um, there's a connection between all of them, and whether or not that if if they kill off Sidney Prescott, but she didn't come back in this movie. My assumption is Nev Campbell, who plays Sidney Prescott, is done with the franchise. She wants to be done with it. So now you have this generation and everything like that, and ultimately too, will it end if they kill her? Probably not, because the mentality of these killers, like they even talked about too, like in the beginning of this movie, there was two film students in this university that worshipped them and started doing the same thing because again, they followed the cult, they followed the lust for blood and all that stuff. So I don't know if there's an actual end to this because there
Yeah.
was an end to Halloween because there was
That
only
was
one
actually,
character.
I was just gonna bring up, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. Finally saying that she's done with her last.
Well, Halloween Ends was obviously the final one because they finally, spoiler, they killed Michael Myers. Also, really, it was really bad. I watched it last year. It was really bad. So there was final end there. I would scream though. You would have to just say it ends. You just have to say it would be done.
Yeah, either you have to be done, or all these people, like you're telling about that, or have this connection, all of a sudden find out they have to all be killed, or
Yeah,
something like that,
and that's so hard though
or
because
break a whatever curse, or
yeah,
whatever.
and the funny thing and the other cool thing is too, like, so Hayden Panettiere was in the fourth movie and she came back in this movie again. Same character, talked about the the lust for blood and everything like that. That she's an FBI agent. She's seen this before. She's also, there's always in one movie there's always a film nerd who tells everyone the rules, and she was actually that character.
Oh my god, this happened, so this means that.
Well, they talk
this-
about like what's your favorite scary movie, such and such. And they list off like all these questions. It was actually kind of funny because again, it's one of those things where it's like, here's the past, here's the future, stuff like that. So we get these generation things. But it's so funny just to watch these movies and how they make fun of themselves while still being a slasher movie. That's the best part is when a movie can make fun of itself. And because that's my thing with the horror movies, that it's always scripted by like, oh, this person, this, if you're a virgin you live, if you have sex you're gonna die, if if you go off to this room by yourself you're dead. And it's like, God damn, that's quite funny that you make fun of yourself. Like that's ingenious in a way.
Yeah.
So
Um, I'll save this question for later. What was your favorite part? One like, favorite scene that like made you like really laugh or made you jump. That was like, oh fuck shit. That like,
I will be honest, these movies don't make me jump. The only movies that never make me jump were the It chapter series. That's because fucking
yep.
I fucking hate.
Don't bring a clown around him.
They will die. Not necessarily die, but I will punch the shit out of it. Yeah, I don't have the best part of all these movies is obviously the confrontation with Ghostface, because like every other horror movie, there's the oh my god, what are we gonna do, and like the worrisome, and then like there's the cheerful moments that make you happy. I would say for this one, obviously, it continues on with the more and more like they get with they meet Ghostface, and then they have the like, how are we going to fix it? I love the mystery part. I love the figuring out what we can do, how can we stop him part. In every one of these movies, that's my favorite because I've always loved mystery. I've always loved, you know, how to solve something.
Yeah, murder mysteries.
Murder mysteries, yeah. Scooby Doo. Fucking, you know. But like, so I love it when they start breaking down all the mysteries. And then I love the actual parts with Ghostface, not just the final part, but all the other times before that, because it's very clever how they do it. It's very thinking about choreograph and thinking about how they're going about the murders and stuff. It's not your typical runs up and stab, 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 done. That was the first movie, but now they're starting to get more unique. There's they're fighting back, they're doing all this stuff, and it really takes up the gore in all of them to a point where it's like each Ghostface gets a little bit more psychotic with their killing, and like sometimes it actually is pretty unique the different ways they do it. So anytime that there's Ghostface and then we're doing the mystery parts, that's to me is always the best parts. Because that's what makes these good movies. The sitting there crying about like, oh, this person died, boo hoo. Well, fuck, he probably, he went into a room by himself. Know the damn rules, man. Know the damn rules.
Okay. What'd you say? Because you said that these movies continue on pretty much, and they lead to somebody else in the next movie that's connected to somebody in the previous. Do you think that we need to have more of these movies? And if yes, we need to have more of this franchise. How many years in between until the next one comes out do you think we need a movie?
That's hard.
Like
I eventually would like to see the end of this franchise because the problem that you're going to run into is the repetitiveness.
That's what I was going to say. Like, we're at number 6 now? What is the like final one? Like 8, 9, 10?
If you base it off of the numbers that we're at right now, you'd have to stop at 8 because there was 4 original with Sidney Prescott being the main person, and then you can do 4 with Sam Loomis. So I'd say if you need to stop at 8. End it right there.
So pretty much 2 more movies.
2 more movies, and we call it a day. And honestly, do them the next 2 years. Get it out of the way. Just get it done while you're hot. Get it done. I don't think they should continue after 8 because again, it's just a retelling of every story. So if you did the 4 and then you did the next 4, right? And maybe on number 8, do a plot twist. Maybe her sister ends up being the killer. Maybe Sam finally turns and her sister has to kill her and all that stuff. Maybe like make it a good twist. Make it a good turn.
Make it a good ending twist. That
make it something that we want to expect and end it there. Because the problem is that if you're basing everything has a connection, but now we're at the point now where it's like, what if Sidney was actually the bad person? What if Sidney is the final Ghostface boss that we have to kill? Like, what if the person who was the first victim becomes now the final boss? Like, something like that would be good to finally end on, because it's kind of that big 360. She starts as the victim, ends up being the murderer. Now it becomes more of like a full-on tale, just something like that.
Okay.
The problem with horror movies are there's a lot of originality ones, but they hold on to the franchises that were always so successful. That you gotta let it die. We don't need another Jason movie. We don't need another Freddy movie. Sure as fuck don't need another goddamn Michael Myers movie.
At least let quite a few years go by before you make one. That's just my thing.
I don't think so, because in my mind you ruin the classics.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let the classics, sit around for a while and then do a reboot later.
I don't think so, though.
Or do a sequel later on.
I don't think so, though, in my opinion, because the more that you do say you do Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
So the first one is a classic. I've never seen it. I know the first one's a classic.
Yeah.
And then the second one I think is okay and everything like that. But the more that you do that, the more you're losing the credibility of Freddy. Because like if we were to watch it now, back when the movie came out and like that, I was like, okay, but for the time that it came out, it was very unique. You can always do more gore and everything like that, but that doesn't always make a good movie. You know what I mean? If you have to let classics be the classics.
Yes.
I think one of the greatest things that we have not seen is we have not. Oh no, we kind of have. Terminator is a good example. Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, amazing movies.
Yes.
Everything after that has been a piece of shit. The sequels. After Terminator 2, everything's been...
And even the one they tried to reboot it with Sam Worthington and Christian Bale.
Yeah, even this last one with Emilia Clarke.
Yep, Darfit.
I think you needed it, though.
It could have ended probably on the 3rd.
And that's my thing. Jurassic Park, another one. You should have ended it a long time ago. You didn't need to make fucking sequels. Jurassic Park. Because look what they did with Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. Now, I love the Chris Pratt movies, but then again, it got really bad. Jurassic World was amazing. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, mm. Jurassic World Dominion, mm. A lot of faults, a lot of problems in those movies. Even thinking about Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World, bad movie, bad movie. There has. I get that you want to capitalize on franchises that are so good, but there has to be a point where you have to just say, "Fuck it, we're done."
Yeah, there's obviously we've seen it many times where they tried to revive a franchise because how good they were, but it ended up falling way short.
Yeah.
So, but that's what you're kind of thinking. Like Scream's eventually going to end up. It's just like eventually you're going to try too much or do something, and it's just not going to work out. Just get to that end point. Call it good right now.
Yep. Because Scream 1 was good. Scream 2 was good. Scream 3 was a step down. Scream 4 was not a good one. Scream 5 and 6 kind of rejuvenated, but again, you have to find a point where you have to say, we're done. You think about all the Halloween movies. They're the same fucking thing in every goddamn movie. And then and then when the movie finally ended, the series finally ended, you're like, well, this is a piece of shit. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't want Scream to fall in the category that some of these other great franchises have been. Because Scream, in my opinion, is again, I'm not a big horror movie fan. So if I have interest in a horror movie franchise, I think it's because it's finally like, hey, this is actually well done. So if they can finally figure a way to end it,
yeah,
we're good.
Agreed. All right, so I got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
First one, how was in this movie? How was the cast overall, in your opinion?
Good. I think the cast plays well together. I think you add a few new characters in there and a few new cast members, and their roles are very short because these movies are more so focused on the main cast itself. They've done a really good job. I was a little worrisome last year when I first saw Scream 5 about the new cast and how they would play them act and everything like that. All of them do a really good job. So the ones that as the new main cast now are really good. So last year the 3 main before, Nev Campbell, Sidney Prescott, who was obviously the main one, Courtney Cox, who's Gale Weathers, and then there was David Arquette, who was Dewey, Officer Dewey. They killed him off last movie, and it was kind of like Star Wars in a way. You needed to, because this is controversial because you're a Star Wars fan, but hear me out. You had to kill him off for a reason. Because if they were still around, the new cast does not survive. The new cast does not.
If you're talking about like killing off Harrison Ford, and I guess you could say Luke Skywalker, yes,
they need it. So I agree with the fact that they are starting to wean these old characters out because they don't need to be a part of this anymore.
And they had their time, they had their stardom, they got all that off of them. Yeah, I agree with that. Plus, if you ever wanted to, obviously me being a Star Wars fan, there's books out there you can read of all these characters. We're not going to ever get, I shouldn't say, the way that Disney's going now with Star Wars, that we're going to see all these side adventures because unfortunately, no longer have Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill able to replace their roles.
And frankly, Solo movie was a piece of shit. Saying it right now.
I mean, you probably even seen it that they just came out and announced Disney is going to be very careful if they are going to make another Star Wars movie because of what happened with Solo.
So with Scream though, with Scream though, I like the cast they have now, and I like they focus on them. And the old cast is just so in number 5, it's kind of hit and miss. Dewey was kind of more involved than the other 2 because he was still around the town and everything like that. But this one, Gale was there, but she was like off and on. And then they had Kirby, who was played by Hayden Panettiere. She was back, but very small role. I like that though because it's giving the cast more time to succeed and get us more involved with them. They did a very good job. Again, I am just not for of having old cast. I get it. It's the nostalgia. It's all this. It's like the Terminator movies. In every goddamn movie, we got to have Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, we just need the goddamn robots.
Because I think they've even done it too where it is Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the robot, but it's a different version of the robot, but it's the same face.
Yeah, I mean, in Terminator Salvation, the final, at the end, like he comes down and it's Arnold
Yeah.
as the Terminator, and it's like, really, did we need to fucking get that? Like, just give us the robot. Don't give us the fucking humanoid face.
Just give us, the whole skeleton of the robot. Don't give us the
skin.
the skin outline.
Yeah.
Okay, well then my final one to you. Your overall rating, 1 out of 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the best. What would you give Scream 6? Honest answer.
I'm gonna go 7.7
I was
because
also
it was gonna be. It's a good movie. It could have been better in a way, but it's a good movie. I'm gonna say 7.7. Now I will have to recommend this. Do not see it if you have not seen the other movies.
So definitely watch the first one.
You have to, because they all play in together.
Because the story then would like throw me off. Like if I went and watched it with you today,
Yeah.
I would have been completely lost.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep. You
Okay.
would have no clue what's going on.
You hear that? Hear that, folks?
It's one of those movies, and there are certain franchises too that you can watch these movies and watch the sequels and not be involved. So, an example, Expendables. I watched Expendables 2 before I ever saw Expendables 1. I didn't need to know Expendables 1. It's
No,
one of
you
those
actually did
franchises that
not,
you can
yeah.
pick up at any point.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to say right now, Expendable 2 is the best one. 2, 1, 3, fuck 3.
Yeah, because number 2 had Chuck Norris in it.
Exactly.
Um,
But with Scream,
so-
though, it has to be the movie that you have to go see the franchise for.
Okay, so you're saying 7.7 out of 10.
Yep.
Would you say if you went back and watched it again, would your rating change? Because you're probably gonna be looking for other stuff,
Yes.
listening for other thing. You think you would keep that the same, or you think you might change your score?
I went and saw it again and really paid attention. It was
Why is that?
because I know exactly what's. I don't think there's anything in there. There's probably something I missed and everything like that, but you know it better than you know it better than anybody else. I'm very attentive to
That's what I'm
details.
saying. Do you think you would have saw something that you would have missed that would have helped you clue in sooner?
Actually, no. This one was actually
But-
the first ones I actually got right away.
I mean, you were like locked in right away. You're looking all over and
Yep.
listening in. Like,
Yep.
okay, so you would stick with your 7 out of 7.
I would say 7.7 out of 10.
I'm sorry, I said 7 out of 7.
Yeah.
7.7.
7.7 out of 10. And if you want me to be more typical, I'd say 7.5. All right, if you want to not do the points, system,
Yeah.
do it by half points, we'll do that. 7.5 out of 10. I can't give it an 8 because I think, again, there were faults to this movie. And actually, this one was actually pretty easy on the mystery about who the villain was. You kind of felt it, right? There were 3 killers in this one, and I got the main person involved. I didn't get the other 2 because they just had a very small part in the movie. I'm gonna say 7.5 because it could have had a better mystery value and everything like that. But for me, though, I will recommend it to anyone who has seen these movies. But if you have never seen these movies before, I can't recommend it because there's a lot of ties to the old ones that you have to at least. If you don't want to go back and watch all of them, go at least watch Scream 5 before you see this one, so you understand what happened in the last movie. And then go from
Yeah,
there.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But there's a lot of the movies that you really gotta, because they go back to the first one, and everything goes back to the first one. And again, it's one of those movies. It's a franchise that you have to
Watch from beginning.
you have to watch from beginning.
I would probably be that way too. I'm actually one of those guys, even when it comes to video games. If I've never played like the first, second, third one, and the fourth one's like on the rave right now, and it's so huge, I would have to go back and play the other just to know what's going on. Even though I've had people many times with movies, TV shows, video games telling me, "Oh, you don't need to worry about that. Go watch some YouTube. They'll catch you up to speed." No, I can't do that.
Well, that's the thing, though.
I can't do that.
There's only a certain amount of franchises that you can watch at any point and be okay with.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to say the MCU is one of them, because take the 4 Avenger movies alone. If you just watch those 4 movies, you're actually better than watching the entire fucking series, because they play in well together. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that goes into the other movies that play involved, but not all the time, though. It's not until like in Infinity War and Endgame do you really need to go watch the other movies to be involved. But Avengers 1, they don't reference anything to the other movies.
I like to see, okay, how did this all start? What started all this to literally make it to where we have to have sequels of this? Like, there's got to be a reason that they keep making sequels, and it's not just because, it just did, had great cast in it, for instance. It's got to be a reason that this is so good. It's like, I had to see why they keep doing it.
And that's the thing too, and that makes a really great movie franchise is that when they are all connected in the sense that you have to go back. Star Wars is an example. You have to watch fucking. If you start with 4, 5, and 6, like you understand why you need to watch 4, 5, and 6 to understand the story. Not necessarily do you need to go watch 1, 2, and 3 because guess what? 3 was the only good one you needed to watch. But Scream is that way. And 2, like, again, it's all connected. So
it's actually funny you bring that up. Because honestly, if you think about it, you actually need to watch 4, 5, and 6 to actually kind of like almost understand a little bit what's going on in The Mandalorian and in the Book of Boba Fett. But you have to go watch the prequels in order to know what's going on with Clone Wars, Rebels, and even right now the Bad Batch.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing too. It's like the MCU. I still stand by what I say. You don't need to watch the Solo movies in order to watch the Avengers movies. Avengers 1 you can watch without watching the other movies. Avengers 2, same thing. You don't need to watch. You just need to watch Avengers 1, how they form and all that.
Yeah.
Infinity War is the only one where I will say go and watch Civil War, and then you're good. You're good. I mean,
the only one you would add in would be Civil War because, quote unquote.
Well, that's how you know that there's conflict between Cap and Iron Man.
Yeah.
And it introduces Spider-Man and it also introduces Black Panther. So, yeah, like, okay, there's Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy. Who are they? Okay, do we really need to know who they are? Like, their movies don't really introduce anything into the next movies. And then, actually, no, you do need to watch Thor Ragnarok because the first part of Infinity War is, them on the ship and everything.
That's true. Yeah.
So, and then Endgame, you just need to watch the other Avengers movies. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. That's a rarity though. That's a rarity because again, like 3 movies, you have to watch from 1 on. At least if you're gonna watch 6, go watch 5. At least go watch that.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say it's a 7.5 out of 10 because we won't do the other numbers. We'll just go 0s and 5s.
0s and 5. All right. I guess then we got to do our thing. Would you say this is Big Fat Dubs recommended?
Yes. Again, though, there's an asterisk to that. Have to have watched the other movie. I think though, if you have seen these movies and you enjoyed them, you will like this movie. If you do not like horror movies, that's honestly just something that fuck it, don't watch it.
All right, guys. You hear it all here from Ryan. I got nothing more for you. I think you have answered everything, and obviously now you guys got an idea of what it's going to be like. And like he says, actually, at least watch the 5th one before you go see this one. Watch them all if you can. I probably will never will. And
he says that.
Yeah, I say that.
But it's not.
Thank you guys all very much for doing this movie review with us. This is probably how it's going to be sometimes. Ryan, because he goes and sees the movies more often than I do in theaters. I'll just sit here. I'll ask him questions. Unless it's something I really want to see, then
we won't do it.
We won't do it.
We won't do it this way because, again, I could do Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but he wants to see the movie. And it's not fair for me to... And it's not really good showing if it's just me going talking about it because you see that a lot. So the next one will probably be Creed 3. I'm going to see that as we're showing this. This is Sunday night as we're filming it, so I will see it tomorrow at some point. So Creed 3 being the 8th? No, ninth movie in the fucking franchise of the Rocky franchise. 8th or 9th?
I want to say 8.
Oh, this would be 9th.
I thought there was 4 Rocky movies.
No, there's.
We had this talk before.
I think there's 5 Rocky. I think there's 6 in total. Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, 5.
We were
How
just
many
having,
movies are in the Rocky franchise?
we just had this discussion. I actually have all the Rocky movies over at my parents' place. I need to grab, but I keep forgetting because you cannot count because that one that Sylvester Stallone did with Robert De Niro is not a Rocky movie, by the way. There's one where him and Robert De Niro did one, but it's not a Rocky movie. But it is a boxing.
There's 6 Rocky movies. There are.
Okay,
So there are 9 movies.
9 trilogy. Okay,
That's a franchise that needs a fucking end.
Yeah. Well, at least they passed it on to somebody else, not continuing.
Just end it.
But after 3, I think you need.
Just like Space Jam, end that shit.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys all very much for watching. Let us know in the comments if you went and saw it, what you thought of it, what you would rate it. What did you? Same questions I pretty much asked. Would you suggest people to go see? Would you say, like Ryan said, please see the movies before it, the other movies before it? Let us know. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we will catch you guys in the next one. We do have a bracket coming out here this week because this is going to be posted here on Monday, and yeah, we'll have more for you guys coming. Ryan, you got anything you'd like to add?
Nope. Tune in for some more, and thanks for tuning in for this one.
And I think you need to do the outro this one because mostly for you did it, so I'd appreciate if you did the outro for us this time. Yep.
Tommy and a homie, send your ass home to mommy.
Thank you guys all very much. We'll see you in the next one.